Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. The meeting is now on live stream. It is 7 p.m. Please rise for the pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We'll call this meeting of the Town Council to order, and the first item of business is a public hearing. Before we start that, I will seek a motion after the public hearing for natural hazard risks in town. I will seek a motion from the council to move item new business 1, which is a request from Angela Denham to discuss designating a location for the senior center, to the head of the agenda, in that I see in the audience a number of people who...
I'll make that motion, Bob.
I'm happy to second it.
I don't want you to get...
who look remarkably like me, and therefore I would imagine they're...
Yeah.
It's not a recovery, that was planned just for the pause.
I made the motion to do that.
I'll second it.
Motion is made and seconded that following the public hearing, we move new business 1 to the head of the agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Now, the public hearing that we are convening is set for this purpose: to gather comment from the public regarding concerns or observations with natural hazard risks in town. This is part of a periodic review of our hazard mitigation plan, and part of our review involves seeking the public's response that says, one of the things you forgot in your hazard mitigation plan was the following. And so we're looking for those kinds of inputs. So with that as a preface, I'll open it to any public comment regarding the town's hazard mitigation plan. Yes, sir. Please.
My name's Larry Anderson, and the only comment I would make, which I'm sure is redundant in regard to the process that's already underway, is that having worked on the Municipal Resilience Program report, which incorporated the findings of the previous, of the current hazardous mitigation plan, I only hope that you have an opportunity to look at the findings of the municipal resilience exercise to look for some of the issues that might have been identified since the earlier one. So I just, as I'm here, I hadn't prepared, but I'm sure you're doing that, but there were new and additional things that grew out of the previous plan that might be useful to the process going forward. Thank you.
Thanks for that reminder. We did indeed, and we will give it another look as well based upon that comment. Any other comments? Is there a motion then to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Then next, let's move to new business item 1, a request from Angela Denham to discuss designating a location for a senior center. In the packet in front of the council, and if you have that with you, is Angela's letter to the council, and I would ask that she have the opportunity to highlight or to specify anything that you'd like to in this letter.
I was just actually going to read the letter.
Please.
Not everybody here has read it, probably. Thank you. Excuse me. I apologize for that. First, I want to tell the council, I am a little hard of hearing. I do wear hearing aids, so I kind of read lips while I'm listening to, if you have questions for me. But okay, so as a senior citizen of Little Compton, the largest population We come to the council asking for a senior center. We do understand the implications of building a new building, and we can be content for now in a space, a dedicated space with our community of seniors. We want to make it an inviting place where seniors can go to eat, meet up with friends for coffee and conversation. And according to our sources in the State House, our understanding is that if there are funds available for seniors in the state, we have to have a dedicated senior center. We are being told that the LCCC is that place, that's the Little Compton Community Center. However, it isn't. With camp and after-school care and other community activities, they're very limited in their time for seniors in that building. Since the onset of our gatherings in November of 2021, we have doubled in numbers, and actually, I'll correct that, we probably more than doubled in numbers and are still growing. We need a dedicated space for seniors to gather and socialize daily. We need to enjoy our lunch together daily. We have desire to have senior geared activities, card games, bingo, knitting, movies, exercise classes, senior trips, celebrating birthdays, and just to come and sit for coffee, pastry, and conversation any time of this period that we'd be allowed in this particular building called the Senior Center. And we are asking for representation, a council on aging of sorts, and some better defined rules in ensuring that we have a building in town that can be used with a consistent scope for seniors. These are very reasonable asks. After all, what is the cost of doing nothing? I started this search almost 2 years ago, and as I searched to speak to a representative of Elder Affairs in town, I came up short. Not one, no one to bring our problem to. One more thing, we have been waiting over 2 years and counting for a senior bus with a lift because the one we had was sold just before COVID and never replaced. Thank you very much for allowing me this time to speak.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there comments from the audience? Yes, ma'am.
I have a question. I'm new to this, but I wanted to know why, I know Portsmouth and Sebring and Westport all have senior centers. How come Compton doesn't? The surrounding areas all have senior centers. I'm in Seventh Green Wellness Center, community center. How come we don't have our senior center like all the surrounding towns do? I was just wondering because I'm new to this.
Okay. Might someone who is not new to this answer that question? I'm happy to provide an answer, but I've only lived here for 31 years, so I don't know that I have a perspective on it. No, seriously, yeah. Yes, Barbara.
I just want to remind the council and those who haven't taken into account that we voted to, as the financial company, over $30,000 to private organizations. So where does that leave us citizens? We are not private, but we get nothing. But private organizations get over $30,000 from our financial needs. So I think it's long overdue. I know we've had spotty places in the past, but I agree with Angela and all the 2/3 citizenship of the Compton who are over 59. I think that's a majority. So I just hope that we can see in the near future, not the distant future like Orban, but in the near future to do something that will be going forward and that we can work toward and participate. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Amy Mooney. I'm the executive director over at the community center. I also live here in town with my 2 boys and my husband. I want to clarify, make it crystal clear that we are able and willing to share our space with any group. The Department of Human Services does limit us as to where the groups can be within the downstairs to outside, outside to upstairs, wherever it is. We are very supportive of operating in this function for the community, if that is a need that we can meet for you. As you know, we do senior lunch 3 days a week. We do delivery, we do dine-in, we do pickup. We're serving 30 to 40 meals a day, which is up from our numbers pre-COVID. I've made it abundantly clear since I started in this position back on April 25th of this year that I want the community center to be for the community, by the community, and that includes youth all the way up to our 102-year-olds, however old our oldest citizen is in this town. So I am here again, putting my best foot forward, meeting the opposition, jumping, because you asked me to, how high. We're very ready, willing, and able to serve this role, even if it is temporary, while you guys work to establish another building if that's what is decided upon. As now a citizen taking off my community center hat, I would urge that if we are going to move in this direction, we do some sort of a needs assessment to identify what the true need is and to see where we should have a gap. Before we make a hasty decision to put resources, time, effort, money into developing a brand new space for the seniors. By conducting a needs assessment, we might find that we have a facility in this town that could already meet this need. We might not. And we might also clarify what specifically the programs are that are needed, the transportation, as I know that's a hot topic in the town. So I would encourage that the town, if we do go down this avenue, conduct a needs assessment with the community, with the seniors, a very large population of this town, to identify what the true need is and to prove that we can't meet that need in our existing capacity in some way, shape, or form. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Barbara.
I realize that we're allowed to use the community center. However, I also know that there are some costs involved. If you have programs there sometimes, if you don't have enough members of the community center to absorb those costs. So sometimes there are costs to having things there. However, as our needs, I think that's an individual thing, and I think that, I don't know, it's trying to juggle everything around that we probably wouldn't get the support from the state if we didn't have our own designated senior citizen. It's good that the community center is willing and wants us. However, you won't get the funding if we don't have something that specifically says this is used for senior citizens only.
Okay, just to respond to that, we, from time to time, receive an opportunity. What occurs to me, for instance, is the annual request from Senator DePalma as to support to the seniors, and we're able to justify to the Senate review process that the $1,000 that we request, which has been provided under most circumstances via legislative grant, will be used exclusively for those things that are associated with seniors. Typically in the past, those monies have been used to pay for transportation to another site or to go to a historic visiting place in somewhere in Massachusetts or that type of thing. So we are careful to ensure that that segregation occurs and we're able to qualify for those. But they are small dollar items. They're not huge disbursements, to be fair. Yes, ma'am.
When I moved here 12 years ago, this wasn't such a big issue. I mean, that senior community center was for both. It worked. My grandkids went to camp there. There were seniors there as well. The other thing is there's grants out there that I have researched that you people can get for a lot of this stuff. And I don't know whether anybody's looked into this.
Can you describe what is different than
Well,
now?
now, like the community center shut down for lunches for a while. Because, and this is, you know, what I heard, and they were shut down for lunches for a while, and that the kids, the campers, and the adults could not be in there at the same time.
So if I may?
It- yeah.
The campers and the kids, whether it's the camp or the after-school care, can be in the same building at the same time. The groups need to be separated. So the kids can't be in the same room as whichever group, whether it's the senior center or not. The other thing is the kids need to have a designated bathroom space, boys and girls, and adults have to use another space. So for those of you who have been around for a while, you know we put an addition on the building in somewhat recent history, and that was because we were flagged by Department of Human Services for not having the appropriate bathroom set up. So right now, adults do have to go upstairs to use the bathroom, staff and guests. Our building is handicap accessible. The elevator is interesting. So I acknowledge that. But there is some truth to that. And if I may respond to you, if we agreed to make senior center, senior community hours, which we did start on June 14th of this year from 10 to 3 p.m. and only 2 folks have showed up since. If we did do this, it would be free of charge. Programs by the community center are free. It's when, like right now, the Gardening Club is renting the building to put on some sort of presentation. They pay a fee if they are beyond their membership hours. So there would be no fee for you to come and have donuts and coffee and good conversation.
Am I correct, that time ended July 2nd?
What time?
July 2nd?
What about that? I don't understand.
The time ended.
July 2nd.
The question, I believe, is, did that offer end on July 2nd?
No, I had emailed you on July 1st to let you know that the Department of Human Services responded to us and that we could share the space. So that
But on the calendar, it ended July.
it's still in our marquee sign. Out there.
It's not on the calendar anymore.
If that is accurate, we can update that. I can do it right now. I have that.
Okay, but it's not on the
Yeah, but-
calendar anymore. And also, in the last 3 years, has the bus money been used for any trips?
Has the bus money been used?
From the comma.
From the
has
senator.
In the last 3 years, has there been any bus trips for
I-
the seniors?
I don't recall there being any, no. But that's not the only purpose for which the grant is granted to us. In other words, we used it 1 year, as I recall, to publish the senior bulletin. There was a mailer that
So
went
that
out.
was what the grant money was for? I thought that was what the $5,000. I thought that was,
No, just to be clear, there's an annual appropriated fund source from tax dollars of $5,000. There is a legislative grant from the General Assembly for $1,000. It is that $1,000 that historically has been used, to your point, for bus trips. And there have not been, but that typically was as a result of someone coming forward and saying, let's go take a bus trip to John Adams' house, whatever. And so that process remains available, certainly. The difference has been that the organization that represented itself as being speaking for the seniors was not active. And so that entity didn't come forward, but there was no constraint against there being the possibility of using it for that purpose.
okay, so the entity needs to become active. to do that.
Yeah,
I've already requested, I think I sent you an email about requesting something like that for the fall. for the
to
seniors.
go to Newport for the purpose of using the funds to transport people to the Newport Playhouse, as I recall, for, yes. And that's a perfectly acceptable use for those funds.
And if the money isn't used, that the senator sends us, where does that money end up?
It remains in the account of the town, And it needs to be justified before we seek additional funds. So it would be available for use at any time.
Does it accrue every year?
Well, to be specific, they ask us, what did you spend the money on last year? And we have to justify that. Typically, what we've used it for is the maintenance, not to raise a sore subject at the moment, but the maintenance of the van that we had to transport people back and forth to Market Basket and elsewhere.
If I could just interrupt quickly.
Yeah.
Could you just bring me up to speed on what happened to the bus, why it was sold? I'm unaware of why.
Why the bus was sold?
Yeah. What happened to the bus?
I think it was sold as a result of a decision on the part of the town and its designated driver coordinator, stay-at-home, that they had an opportunity to procure a bus that was more in keeping with what people felt our bus lacked, which was quiet access, ability to accommodate more people with less noise. And to be straightforward, we sold that bus in anticipation of being able to purchase another just as COVID occurred and we were unable to procure another bus. The stay-at-home had an opportunity for a grant that they were unable to consummate as a result of COVID. And therefore, as in hindsight, we ought not have sold the bus when we did.
Just for the record, also going on at the same time was a lot of repairs that were necessary on the bus. And that was part of the decision process to sell the bus.
Well, the bus was a constant material problem, yes. But so had we it to do over again, I think I still would have agreed that we should sell the bus because it was not reliable.
So Stay at Home, is that a company that has a van for the seniors? What is Stay at Home?
Stay at Home is a private entity with whom we contracted to operate the town's bus. They were the dispatcher and the bus driver provider for that bus.
Thank you.
Is that being worked on right now, that we're gonna get a bus? It's been over 2.5 years.
Yes, interestingly, we have a number of possibilities. The downside is to procure a new bus from the wheels up is now, according to RIPTA, a 1-year process. There is a 1-year lead time on that. So what we're pursuing are used buses that we're able to buy and refurbish and get back on the road promptly. And by promptly, we're looking at within a couple of months, perhaps, is what we think we're going to be able to do. Yes, ma'am.
I wanted to ask, if this senior group were more formally organized with their own bylaws and their elected officials, would the monies that were set aside for them be forwarded to their treasury, like they do with some of the other organizations that the town raises money?
I understand the question. I think the general answer is yes. Let me say that when the Senate first proposed to send to the Little Compton Senior Association a grant of $1,000, the only entity to which they were willing to send the funds was the town of Little Compton, acting as the senior organization, because the senior organization, because it was not a 501c3, could not establish itself as an entity able to accept the funds. So I guaranteed to the senator that we would bring the funds here and that those funds would be allocated only to senior efforts, which we've been able to do consistently for the time we've received those grants.
If this group was organized, would they be able to
Appeal?
use the town's 501c3, or will we have to file for our own? That takes a long time.
The town isn't a 501c3 entity, so that's not a,
So we would need to be a 501c3 in order
Yes.
to receive these funds.
but there could be an existing 501c3 to which the senior group appeals to act on its behalf.
I see.
Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
I was just gonna speak to that
And with that, there would be the advantage, it seems to me, of increasing the request. I've not been able to justify more than the $1,000 based upon the expenditures for fuel and maintenance of the van, along with payments. But were there to be other expenses that the entity wished to ask for, that could change that dynamic, yes.
Carolyn, I think it's a good idea if this group gets together and has a couple of representatives. You're very well spoken, and you generally go for whatever you want. I think it'd be much easier. I didn't know there was all these problems with the seniors. I thought everything was fine over at the senior center. They were going there and doing what they wanted. That's why it's called the senior center. So I had no idea there was all these problems.
That's why we're here now.
Right, right. Well, okay, it is a community center, but it's supposed to serve the seniors.
No.
And why it hasn't, I'm not sure. This young lady here says that if there's a problem, she's willing to work with you to solve it. I mean, the only other option is, I don't think the town's ready to buy land and put up a new building for the seniors. Maybe we could use the Oddfellows Hall and change that around if there's a needs assessment to do that.
We understand that. We understand that. That's why we're looking for a space
Right.
within the town somewhere to organize as a senior center.
Right.
So there's a little more implication, a little more help with that kind of,
Okay.
yeah. And I've got to tell you, as far as numbers, I've got like 43 people right here in phone numbers that have been coming to Flounders and having lunch with donated people in our community.
Right.
Donors, giving them, and just so generous. And if I've got 43 people with signatures right here, they all have families, and those donors have families, and you know what?
Okay.
This has gotten huge since the onset of it. We started it, Sue Cressman, Officer Sue, and Sue Sisson, and myself. The three of us got together in November of 2021 because we couldn't stand seeing our seniors not being taken care of. We couldn't stand seeing them not socializing. We've watched them fall off the face of the earth into nursing homes, and some of them died. I mean, they were isolated by themselves, and nobody called them, said, hello, how you doing? Nothing. They got no phone calls, they got no connection with other than maybe the person next door or maybe a friend or a family member. However, so we started something by getting the seniors into the Grange, and the police, you can stand up and say a little bit about what the police did.
Gary, there's a timeline of when we weren't allowed in the community center.
I understand that because of COVID.
Yeah.
Right.
But the children were allowed.
Okay.
And right now, there's another senior that has a health issue and who went to the community center for lunches, and nobody reached out to her. You know, and I've been trying really hard to bridge everything, and it hasn't gone well. So I went around, and Mr. Sarah can tell you that I did that, and he's not happy with me. I want nothing more to use the community center, because that's where it should be.
Right.
But it needs to be inclusive, children and seniors, and not just for 2.5 weeks and then no.
Is that possible that can happen? I'd still like to see a group of 3 or 4 people with maybe Sue Sisson and Carolyn and you,
And we
Sue, to come.
we might need an addition, but we
Right.
can't have the seniors going upstairs to use
No,
the
I
bathroom.
agree with that.
I agree with that too.
You know, and we
Nonsense.
need,
Nonsense.
you know, we went to Tiverton, and it's like a home. You go there and it's like a home. And we need to do that. You know,
Okay.
an addition, we need chairs, we need like a little living room, we need something for these people.
They need to know what.
I love children, you know I love
Yes.
children too, but we need something for these people.
They need to know that this senior center is open to them at 9 to 4 in the afternoon, and they can drop in anytime they want. They can sit there, play cards, hang out, put their feet up on a chair, enjoy the air conditioning where the weather's been so bad. that they have a place and that people care about them. It hasn't happened at the community center. Because of that happening, we have distrust in this town. Now, this is why my suggestion was that maybe we should have a senior representative in this town, looking out for the needs of the seniors in this town. A council on aging, so to speak. Most towns have them. I never had anybody to go to. When we started looking, all I had was Sue, and God love her. I mean, she's trying to do her job, plus she's trying to help the elderly. And Sue Sisson, you know, working double time, trying to get the people taken care of, because they weren't being taken care of. And we need to make assurances that they know Monday through Friday, they can do this, they can bring their cards, they can hang out, they can have comfy chairs. It's not about only 3 days a week having food.
But I hope I haven't been on a void about this whole situation, but I'm glad everybody came, so I'm aware of it, and the rest of the council is aware of it. We're not just gonna drop it. I'm certainly gonna talk to Mr. Mushin about what can happen. I think we got a nice building on the other side of the community center, and maybe possibly convert, not tomorrow or the next day or something, but
Right.
convert it to a space for the elderly people. So, I'm,
I find that interesting, the Oddfellows. Can you give us any background on the Oddfellows? Is it historic? Can it be used? Can it be renovated? Do we know? Because I know certain things are on, historic and you can't touch it.
Can it be renovated? Yes. Is it solely our decision? No. Is it relatively easy to do? Yes. We are attempting to ensure that the community center, which was built and designed for the purpose of the community, have the opportunity to be that entity. And it seems to me that's what's being offered. But it is relatively easy, frankly, when I look at the schedule for the Oddfellows Hall, first floor, it is rarely ever contested. In other words, there's almost never a time at which there is someone who said, I wanted to use it, but so-and-so else was in there. So I believe that's the immediate solution to the ability to do what is apparently being proposed is there needs to be a 5-day-a-week, 8-hour-a-day place that people can go and be sure that they can go in there. That is probably that place now, or at least can be made that place. I believe the community center, though, is important for us to support in the sense that that's the entity that is designed to provide, for example, meals, fellowship, all those kinds of things. What is happening now is the sense is that's true on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for certain periods of time around a meal, but that's not true on Tuesday afternoon. So I believe some combination of those two would, that is a combination of the community center and the Oddfellows Hall would be an interim solution.
When you say it's not solely our decision, whose decision is it?
It's not, did I say it's not solely our decision?
I think he meant because the upstairs is under the jurisdiction of the
Oh.
other house.
Yeah.
That can't be
Is
used.
there any chance the upstairs can be used?
Yes, yes, please.
This is a very emotional situation. I've been involved with it from Florida and then came up here. And I've had these two young ladies at my home. We've discussed it. We've gone back and forth. Paul Colombesky and myself have donated sums of money so they could have dinners in another restaurant while that was closed to them. So we looked at the situation many, many different ways. I was pretty aggravated when I came home about this situation. And I went to see Tony and I put the word out that I wanted to see the new director. And when I did get to see the new director, I had a chip on my shoulder, I don't mind saying. And I did. And I wasn't very nice the first few minutes. But what I said to her is, there's 62% seniors in this town, and we need into this building, we need equal time. And she said to me, okay, we need this. Okay. They're complaining about the food. Let's change it, she said. I said, well, we've got a dinner, I think it was the following day at Flounders. And she said, I'll come and I'll speak to them. She did. She spoke to the group and she said that. I will change it, I will do, all you have to do is tell me what you want. Come in and tomorrow morning we'll have coffee and donuts. She said it that day.
And we did.
And we did. I brought the donuts. and we tried to have, I mean, nobody showed.
No one knew. No one knew.
Well, it was said at the lunch.
Oh, no, you said, maybe we could go and have coffee and donuts. No one said the next day it was happening.
Oh, she said it.
And then I ran
She
into
said
your wife and
tomorrow.
she said, why didn't you come?
Yeah.
And I knew.
Well, anyway.
Take care, folks. Please address the council. Thank you.
So anyway, from then on, I have stopped, I don't know how many times, Dave,
Dozens.
at the senior center. My wife has been there almost every lunch or close to it. She hasn't gotten the support in the center that would require input from the group that I worry about. She needs that kind of input. She needs to know what they want. She needs to know what she can do, because she tells me, she said, I'm still waiting for the kind of input that would make a difference. So I think we all agree that the seniors need something. There's no doubt there. We all agree they need a spot, but I think they have to give this young lady a shot. Give her a chance to deliver. And then if there's a shortfall, they come to the council and say there's a shortfall that's not working. And then say, this is what we need now. But I think she's ready, willing, and able to help. And if there is a designated person, then that's what should happen. That designated person should be talking to her and get it done. But I know she's ready, willing, and I think she's able.
Well, I'm gonna say a couple hard things. I wanted a pool table, she said no. I said, well, one of the things that you could do is make it on wheels, you can make it as a regular table, put plywood on it, use it as a table, she said no. We said, your menu needs to be more descriptive. It wasn't more descriptive 3 months later. That was April, this is August, it's not more descriptive. The things on it were like, cucumber sandwiches. People aren't interested in cucumber sandwiches, tacos. That's not elder food. I don't mean to be mean, but there were things that we put out there that did not get done. So we did ask for input. Am I wrong? There were things that I said the first day. I don't want to be mean, but I'm being honest. Am I lying?
Nutrition was our priority also.
Nutrition, I think I said that to you, Bob, several times. Meals, vegetables, chicken, meals.
We brought in a new chef as of June 15th.
When I was there the day you came in and said hi, the meal looked awesome, I have to say. Fresh vegetables, chicken, looked great. But we did give input. When I looked at the calendar and it said that the seniors were gonna be in there for the end of June, I was like, awesome. And then 2.5 weeks, you're gonna have people invited for 2.5 weeks, but then that's it? 2.5 weeks and then you're out because the kids are back in? I don't think that's too welcoming. I don't know about you, but I'm not welcome for any place and then, okay, you're in for 2.5 weeks and then you're out?
Very confusing. And elders,
I'm not gonna go any place for 2.5
they
weeks
need
and then
consistency.
want to go back in. And Josh, I would love to speak to you because I asked him to come here.
Yeah.
He sponsored a meal. He
Josh.
hosted it. He was awesome.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, the Jimmy Hayes field, they did the beautiful basketball courts, the new school, there's 30 kids in this town, you know, and all the seniors had a ball at the throw, and you're the only people there. Every Sunday I go there with my shift after work, and it's just seniors at the bar because they want to go to concerts. They should deserve a above, whether it's a pool table, just to go and not to sound morbid, but as you get older, I always hear your friends start to pass, and it's sad, and to be a great place to meet new friends, because I know even at my age, I don't meet new friends. I have my friends, and they're my friends forever. At your age, I know it's hard to meet new friends if you don't have a community place to go, and I just think you guys deserve that as a spot to just call your own, because it's also work for you.
Thank you.
so much. Thank you, John. I have led the horse to water I can't make it drink. I am not going to buy a pool table at a couple $1,000 if no one's showing up. That doesn't make sense.
Chief Pedron?
And I would also like to add, every request that was made today, with the acceptance of a pool table, we can do. There's no reason why we can't do all these things. I need people to show up to prove the concept.
I have had,
Please let me finish up. Please. We've gotten a new chef. I accept that feedback. We've gotten a new chef. He started a couple weeks ago. Our meals are nutritious. They're well balanced. There's protein, there's carbs, there's fruits, there's vegetables. There's a nice dessert. If you can't have dessert, you skip the dessert. We have the capacity. We have the space. We have the ability. If we're stuck on this summer camp issue, if summer camp feels like an issue, why don't we explore moving the summer camp elsewhere for 6 weeks? It's only 6 weeks out of the year. It's not 365 days of the year. So could the camp go to the school next summer? I just think this is a very hasty decision. I don't know that a decision is actually being made tonight, but if the sticking point feels like summer camp is an issue, let's explore.
What about the after-school care?
The after-school care, they're there respective to school year. You are correct. And so
They're there the rest of the year.
yeah, if you want a building from 9 to 2 during the school year, or 9 to 4, then you can go upstairs and we can do that. I started a senior planning work group 3 months ago to get stakeholders together in this community, because I felt immediately that this need needed to be addressed and needed to be met. That's a work group that didn't exist until I pulled the folks together. People in this room were invited. Officer, you showed up to one of the meetings, you missed 2 of them. You're a key player in this.
I was on vacation, you didn't ask to reschedule them.
Ladies.
Both times I was on vacation.
Ladies, please, in order for this to be reasonable, we need to have the ability of the person making the statement to make the statement. Let's not have a dialogue back and forth.
I immediately saw the need, I felt the need, I know the need, I agree with the need. I pulled the people together to attempt to make progress, and no one's taking a step in my direction. I'm at the finish line. I need one person to step back, and no one's doing it. I'll say for the last time, we can do all these things in the building. We're very receptive, we're willing, we're able, we're enthusiastic. Show up at our door, and we can accommodate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. Yes.
I had 2 opportunities to get free pool tables. And it's been suggested to use other places for the school vacation camps before. And I was on vacation both of those 2 times.
Shall we try
The
to,
first time was discussed at that first meeting. I told you that I wasn't gonna be there. The second time, I was on vacation also.
shall we look at putting the pool table on the first floor of 32 Commons in the Oddfellows Hall? Does that
That's a
satisfy?
possibility as well.
Does that
I've had
satisfy
many
the
seniors
objective?
say that that's something that they would be interested in.
Okay, yes, ma'am.
My name is Rose. I've been involved with the community center for about 7 years, and I've seen a lot of chefs come and go. And yes, for a period of time there, the meals were questionable. But we gotta get rid of the chips on our shoulders and try to work with Amy. She will bend over backwards. You can't go in there and with a sour face and all that. I've been there, and no one's showing up. The meals are great. I mean, they're not perfect, they're not what I would want to eat every week, and you said, I'm gonna give it up, because no one wants to step forward. I think it was you. Was it you? Someone. Anyhow, and they gave up the seniors meeting at the old folks.
That was years ago.
But we need to just drop and try to support and work, because she has the knowledge to help you. She just offered to work with you on the 501c, whatever.
Great.
I mean-
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, in the back.
I just think they're not looking for a place where it's like, show up this time, do this, because the only place they can go, hang out, act normal, not like they're being shuttled around on a bus. Go like, I wanna go at 5 o'clock, this guy can show up at 6 with their playing cards. It's like, it's act like normal people, not like
Okay.
we're all seniors and we should be here now, you gotta be here now, if you're not here now, we're canceling the program.
Thank you. It seems to me that there is some combination of the community center and the Odd Fellows Hall that can supply that on an ongoing basis. So let's work
For,
together.
for, for,
Yes.
for the,
Somebody mentioned that there's 62% seniors in this town. I can guarantee you that most of them do not know what's going on. At the community center, I didn't know until I happened to talk to somebody and they said, oh yeah, there's lunches there, here's when they are. Then the next thing I heard, there's nothing. So there needs to be much better communications, I think, with the seniors.
Noted. Thank you.
I just
Yes.
like to mention, the other 38% probably don't know what's going on.
They probably.
It's communication is tough here in this little town. I've been involved for 50 years, so it's tough to get the word out, and so.
But if you're into marketing, you know how to do that and how to do it, and it's not just sending out a letter once in a while or an email, because a lot of people don't use them.
I just.
Let me ask
You need
the-
a marketing plan, and you need some seniors that are gonna work on this.
We got the word out during COVID when they wouldn't let them in over there. We got the word out. We got them together.
Yes, Sue.
I think we dwell on what the community center can offer, is going to offer. I think we dwell on the meals, no matter where they are. We did that 101 times. What we need to do is have a senior center. Have a board for the senior center. Let them get the questions, and they will get the answers. Let these seniors have a place to go and share their feelings. Let's forget about what the community center is going to offer. Because what happens, we're gonna settle into a routine where the senior center idea is gonna be put in the back burner again. I think we need to find a senior center, a permanent senior center. And I know you and I have talked, and there's possibilities that exist.
Right.
And I think we need to follow that further. But I think this going back and forth with this is driving me crazy. I don't wanna deal with it anymore. In addition to people requesting financial aid for whatever problems they've got. But the matter of bad taste was left in all our mouths at first when the community center shut down. Now they're open. Give the seniors a choice if they wanna go back there for their meals, and that should be the way it's gonna be. If they don't want to, then find out why they don't want to go back. But I think we need to get away from this animosity and go forward.
It has been mentioned by some of you that the question is, could there be an entity that represents the seniors? If that existed, I think we would have a focus through which we could bring these kinds of issues forward on a real-time basis. And I appreciate the effort that's been made on such a pleasant evening as this one, with the soft rain falling outside and the cool breezes blowing through the chamber. But I'm grateful for the fact that you've come here to talk about this. Let's take it to the next step and get 4 of you to say, I am willing to be part of an entity that represents the seniors, so that we can deal not with a room full of folks that are not happy with what exists, but rather talk to a set of people who say to us, It is we who represent the seniors. I'm not suggesting that until that happens, we don't do anything. We're working on a bus, a used bus, we're working on a new bus, we're working on, obviously, the use of 2 buildings. I would only emphasize what you've heard a number of times tonight. The community center should be put to the test as to whether it can supply what we're looking for. It seems to me they're saying they can. And if they're not, again, that group could come and say, it isn't working. And we wouldn't have to put this on a council agenda and wait for the council to convene, but rather we could get some answer more quickly than that. So that would be my suggestion and takeaway from this. I don't want to terminate the discussion, but I certainly, speaking personally, believe I've heard you loud and clear.
And one more note, Rob, I would just like to mention the fact that that group that Amy was talking about, the senior, whatever it's called, workshop, I guess, Angela has absolutely been willing to meet with this group next time around. I think it's August 24th, a very limited group. So we can hash out exactly how we feel without doing it with a large form. And she has been amenable to that. And I haven't gotten back to Amy yet, but Amy said go for it. So there's, I think there's 4 or 5 of us that will get together and hash this out finally and see where we can go from here. And also, Donna Stewart has agreed to work with Angela regarding senior programs. Then we need a formal board that can get together for the senior group. But if they all mesh together, everybody's ideas can be almost on the same page. You're not always going to agree, but it works out in the end. I know the school committee, when I was on school committee, oh my God, this is horrible. To leave that building and say, have a good night, you know, everybody was copacetic with what we had discussed after the fact.
Sue, as the Director of Social Services, are you willing to take lead on this?
Do I want to take lead on this? To a certain degree, Paul, I am willing. But right now, I am dealing with continuous calls. After that, townwide mailing for the Assistance Association went out. I have been inundated with calls for help. So that is my prime job. That's where I'm headed now. I would be willing to work on any other board, you know, as a help, but I don't want to head it up.
Did you hear what
Okay,
she said?
fair enough.
Well, would you say again what it is that's got your undivided attention at the moment? What did,
The mail.
The
is-
calls for
the
help.
assistance
The
program.
calls for help, you.
oh, the response to the townwide mailing, got it, thank you.
And so that's my
Focus, and properly so, thank you, all right. Yes, ma'am.
I would suggest asking Angela to do it first. She's got a really strong voice, and people seem to listen to her.
Thank you, I would not prefer to tell the senior group who it is that ought to lead them.
Well, you just asked Sue.
Got it. I think you asked Sue.
Tried to get a leader out of it.
That's fun.
Yes.
And one thing, if you guys have any kind of event that you need to put into the paper, I know you said about one thing marketing and not knowing about events and not knowing, yes, we are a weekly paper, so you kind of have to wait until you see it that week. So as long as you get it by our deadline, like late Monday night, early Tuesday morning, but if there's anything that you have an event or something is like an issue, let me know, so I can run that in the paper as far as, okay, there's a brunch today or this happening, because that's one of the main points of communication for the town. I mean, I'm not originally from here at all. I live in Middletown now, but I'm originally from Philly. So I am not used to anything in the town, but these little papers are what matters. So if you guys need any kind of point of communication to get that word out.
She's not gonna be on the senior committee.
No.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Anyone else? Let me say that this has been a tremendous education. Not necessarily things that I didn't know, but the interaction has been very helpful. and I hope that we're able to satisfy your expectations promptly. We will give it our full attention. Thank you. If you are here for another matter, you are welcome to remain. You are also welcome to take advantage of a brief moment in which you can make your way. As some folks are leaving, may I continue with announcements? Monday, the 8th of August, that would be this coming Monday, is Victory Day in Rhode Island. It is a holiday in town. Town Hall will be closed, and the transfer station will be closed on Monday, the 8th of August, Victory Day. Our next item of business is approval of the minutes.
Bob, is that your only announcement?
Oh, please, go ahead.
The fireworks have been postponed.
Thank you.
So, I know we were looking forward to that after multiple years of not having the fireworks, but they're postponed until we have a new date, so.
And the new date is the 11th of September.
Okay, September 11th.
Thank you to Councilor Moore for reminding me the fireworks scheduled for August 8th have been delayed until September 11th. That will be the same evening as the community dinner. Folks are welcome to come to a community dinner, then stroll peacefully down the hill and witness the fireworks on September 11th. The rain date is Sunday, September 18th. So September 11th and September 18th are the scheduled and rain dates for fireworks. Thanks.
Motion to place the 7/21/2022 council meeting on file unless anybody has any comments or questions.
Second.
Discussion on that. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. The department head reports. We have department head reports from the clerk, assessor, fire chief, administrator, and finance director.
Motion to place all department head reports on file unless anybody has any comments or question on those.
Second.
Or from
The
Tony
motion is
or the
made and
chief.
seconded. Are there any questions that someone wishes to have clarified or anyone that wishes to speak to their report? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. The first item of old business is South Shore Beach, Goosewing Beach. I'd like to turn this matter over to the solicitor. We're acknowledging receipt of two documents, a letter of opinion from Larry Anderson and a correspondence from John Burke.
Chairman, would it be, should we ask these people that wrote the letters if they want to speak on their letters now, or should you wait?
I believe the solicitor has incorporated that into his comments.
Yes, I reviewed both of the documents.
Yes, certainly. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I've reviewed Mr. Anderson's submission. I've reviewed Mr. Berg's submission. I've written a letter to Mr. Berg. I've spoken with the chairman of the Beach Commission, which most of this is within their jurisdiction, and I am slated to see them in mid-August. It was a firm date, but there's not a firm date now. So that's that. I suspect I'll receive some information from Mr. Berg, and I did take the opportunity to review probably 3,000 pages of documents relative to this. So, with that in mind, thank you, and I think that once I meet with the Beach Commission, it will be appropriate for us to come back to the town council. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd just like to say, I read Larry's letters, and I read John Berg's letters, and, you know, John Berg's letter was very easy to understand. He laid everything out pretty specifically. It was easy to understand to me. I think it's a no-brainer to go forward with this, but what route we can go forward, I'm not sure. But if anybody wants any information, I think John's letter is pretty good. Not that Larry's isn't good, because it is, but it's, Larry tends to put a lot of stuff in it, so. Just my comment.
I've also read both the letters. I don't know how much you want to speak about this, Mr. Humphrey, but you've said you've read both the letters also. What I've garnered from John Berg's letter is in order to realize this title correction. So it seems to me, from reading Mr. Berg's letter, that he's citing a title correction is what's going on here. And I read Mr. Anderson's letter, and it looks to me like he's using the phrase adverse possession. It has been suggested that the proposed transaction may be present in a form of adverse possession, and Berg is saying title correction. So I'm interested to see what you have to say after you speak with everyone and you get your opinion to us about those two phrases that I see in here, that you could have me a better understanding of what's going on here. It seems to me from reading this that a town meeting is the issue. And it seems that Mr. Berg's letter and Mr. Anderson's letter are coming to two different conclusions. So we need to go to someone who has who's a lawyer, who has the experience that I don't have. So I look forward to your opinion on those specific phrases in the letters.
Well, let me be clear about one thing. You cannot adversely possess against the sovereign. We're the sovereign.
I'm sorry, can you say that?
Sure. You cannot adversely possess against the sovereign. We've addressed that for roughly 150 years, most notably in the Talbot versus Little Compton case. So that's the first thing. What was the other topic that you had?
Mr. Berg cites
Boundary correction?
Title correction.
Yeah, we have some disputed areas down there that were settled in the early 1990s. The nature conservators were very, very helpful and said, tell us what you own. We did. And they've lived by that. So, on the other hand, one of the things I'm most careful about, and I have great respect for the Beach Commission. They've worked very carefully with the Nature Conservancy. Back in 1998, 2000, it's kind of a fractured relationship. Bill Ryan, Joe Miato, and the rest of those nice people on there have worked very hard on this, and John Berg has really gone extraordinary. He's a very bright guy, very helpful to the town on lots of things. So, although, and I think it's courtesy that they bring this to the town council for lots of reasons, including the possibility of the council and the Beach Commission working together to work with the Nature Conservancy. So, I think those matters are addressed. So,
I would echo your statements with the Beach Commission. Those are fine people that work there. But I think there's 5 people to sit here. If I'm reading this correctly, it's 5 people to sit here who are gonna have to vote on this.
that's correct.
Okay, so I'm one of those 5. So I want to be clear that we have the correct legal opinion. So in all the information that I need to vote on this, so it doesn't have to go to a financial town meeting, or it does, I don't know. I'm relying on lawyers to tell me that. So that's why I sit in this position. That's why I ask those questions.
And after we meet with the Beach Commission, we'll be back at it.
Yes, sir, please.
Thank
you. Thanks, Council. My name is Larry Anderson. You know that. I'll try to stick to the central focus of my letter. I want to make clear that I do not object to the intent and what I understand to be the substance of what are described as, first, a boundary line agreement and grant of easements, and second, a Goosewing Beach Stewardship Vehicles Parking Lease. These are the titles of the 2 documents. I believe that the Beach Commission at its last meeting voted to approve the Goosewing Beach 2022 Management Agreement in close to the same form that the Commission and the Nature Conservancy have approved such an agreement for each of the last 25 years. So I I carry the baggage of having observed, participated in, weighed in on, attended numerous, I don't see any Beach Commission members here, Beach Commission meetings, town council meetings in the early 90s when these issues were being hashed out about the beach after the Nature Conservancy first acquired their interest in 1989. So I appreciate the effort and the time the Commission and the Beach Commission and the Nature Conservancy have invested in drafting these two agreements. I think the agreements can be beneficial to the parties, the town, the Beach Commission, the Nature Conservancy, and perhaps most importantly, the public who will use the beach. These agreements can help resolve some of the issues that have been problematic for a couple of years, for many years. And actually, some of these issues are ancient. That's why they're unresolved. So I just want to read the central point of my letter. It's on page 2. It's the part that's highlighted. My central concern and the purpose of this letter is to offer the opinion, I'm not an attorney, you know that these agreements appear to require approval by town voters at financial town meeting or special town meeting as provided in the section 103 and or section 704 of the Little Compton Home Rule Charter. Thus, I believe, just my opinion, that it is legally necessary and would be, and perhaps more important, would be politically and practically beneficial to add to and include in the two agreements as they've been proposed specific provisions requiring town meeting approval as a condition of their implementation. To my understanding, the agreements in their current form have not involved, unless I'm wrong, and Mr. Humphrey can correct me, have not involved any participation of a lawyer on the town's behalf yet. I think the Nature Conservancy has its own lawyers. The Nature Conservancy's legal concerns are not the same as the town's, so I would just make that point. So you know that the two charter commissions, the two charter provisions I'm referring to are section 103, town property. I won't read that. I just will. I want to add that there's a precedent for town meeting approval for a trail easement granted by the town to the Nature Conservancy to and across town property for the Dunbury Brook Trail. This was approved, and I have copies of that here from the warrant. So this was an easement, a trail easement. This was approved by the Financial Town Meeting in 2010 pursuant to Charter Sections 102, which is powers of the town, and 103, town property. I presided over that Financial Town Meeting and that vote as moderator. As I recall, the vote was quick, got quick voter approval. There was no, my note there, my checklist shows that it must have been a voice vote. So I anticipate that if this were to go to town meeting, that if the Beach Commission, the Town Council, the Nature Conservancy, those of us citizens who supported these, spoke in favor of this, this would be a simple process. So I just point out that in regard to that issue, an easement over town property, this is the beach is the town's property. These agreements call for easements and rights of way across the beach. It's not just a title. The details of this call specifically for rights of way and easement, not just a title clearance or adverse possession and so forth. So the other provision, which I am going to read, is from the section 704 of the Beach Commission Charter provision. So it's worth keeping in mind that the charter was written and approved by the town in the years 1993, 1994, took effect in 1995. That was in the midst of some of these transactions. There were different councils, there were different solicitors for a while. So there's a reason why this language, I believe, is in the charter. It says, section 704A, the commission shall have the authority to manage, regulate, and control all public beaches owned by the town, any acquisition of beach property by the town or sale or lease thereof, or any granting of an easement or right-of-way over any such property shall, exclusive of acquisitions by the Little Compton Agricultural Conservancy Trust as hereinafter set forth, require consultation with the Beach Commission and approval by the town meeting. So I don't believe that's been invoked. I don't think in the past there was a reason why that language was adopted by the voters of the town, and I just urge you to, and as you discuss and review this, the town council, the beach commission, and the town solicitor, that you strongly consider whether these agreements need town meeting approval. In retrospect, I look around, except for Dick. I think there's one member of the Beach Commission who was involved in some of those things at the time that this charter for provision was included. There was a reason it was included, and it was because the town didn't really have a say in the transactions down there. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have one question, and I think it's kind of difficult to answer this because we don't have any members of the Beach Commission here or Mr. Berg, but my question is what is the rush to completing this title correction? I mean, Mr. Berg says that doing the title correction could eliminate liability for the town and the Nature Conservancy, but beyond that, what's the rush?
There is no rush.
Okay.
There is no rush. However, I say that respectfully. Beach Commission, the Nature Conservancy have worked together. They're gonna keep working together. And I talked to Bob about this a week ago or so. And in fact, in about 3 or 4 minutes, we said, what's the harm of a town meeting? Frankly, none. Other than we'd like to incorporate it in that one and not have separate ones, because that's a lot of time and effort to have separate. I mean, right now I've asked for 6 documents from John, and he hasn't given it to me, but that's not his fault. I mean, I'm putting the cart before the horse. I want to know, I want to see the leases and things like that, the property line agreement, all those kinds of things. He might be out of town, but I know him, he'll get the stuff to me. So essentially, this will work itself out. In regards to the title correction, you don't want to go into that thing, because I went into that hole last week. We have title insurance out there, and there are some things that the title company could not insure around. I think maybe John's trying to get that squared away, which wouldn't be a bad thing. So the title search is about this big. I gave mine to Joe Palumbo. I don't have mine back, but that's not exactly critical, because I have the title policy that lays out some of the factors that we have here. So once again, I think both parties are working in good faith. I think this is probably a good time to do it. And I think if we stay on sort of a steady track, we'll be in line to have it put on the annual financial town meeting. And even if we have a question, we could put a placeholder in there when we're designing the town meeting.
So you said you were gonna meet with Beach Commission?
Yeah.
Okay, so you'll bring something back to
I
us?
will.
Okay.
Thanks, Gary.
Yeah, I don't see the rush on it myself. I guess you could find that out from John Berg, but I wouldn't want to have a special financial town meeting or a special meeting, because that incurs a cost to the town. So I think it'd be the place to put it would be the financial town meeting.
All right, thank you to those who contributed to this. I think we'll get a good product as a result. The next item of the agenda is old business 2, which is to consider placement of a matter on the election ballot. Now, let me recall for you, last meeting we resolved with this same wording to establish the question of, we resolved that new cannabis-related licenses for businesses involved in the cultivation, manufacture, laboratory testing, and retail sale of adult recreational use of cannabis would not occur until the town had the opportunity to vote on it. So this is a question to you to consider placement of the language on the November 8th election ballot. And if you agree to do it, I will ask for a second vote that refers the matter to the Board of Canvassers for certification. So I would call for a motion, first of all, to place on the ballot the words "shall new cannabis-related licenses for businesses involved in cultivation, manufacture, laboratory testing, and for the retail sale of adult recreational use of cannabis be issued in the town."
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Motion to give this to the canvassers to include on the November 8th election.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded to refer the matter to the Board of Canvassers. Is there any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. You have what you need, Madam Clerk? The next is a recommendation from the Town Administrator and Beach Commission for award of the contract for South Shore Beach Road Drainage Project. Let me tell you that this constitutes the first of our 3 MRP projects, which we are getting underway with the proposed award of contract.
Motion to award.
Second.
The motion is made and seconded to award to Wilkie Excavating for $55,795.
I've got a question,
Yes.
discussion. I don't have the contract in front of me, I apologize. I would ask the Beach Commission, but I'll address it to the town administrator. Is there anything in the contract that constitutes work for easier access to the shore? Yeah, maybe next meeting we could get that contract, and I'd like to take a look and see if there's anything in there that's gonna allow people to get easier access to the sand or the water. Obviously, we know it's a rocky beach down there, and it's pretty important. Thanks.
Any further discussion?
All in favor?
All in favor of the motion, signify
Second.
by
Aye.
saying aye. Aye, thank you. The next item, the solicitor will recuse from this matter and has filed paperwork accordingly. I've been asked by Councilor McHugh to place on the agenda the confirmation of an appointment of 2 councilors. The 2 councilors in mind are himself and myself to the working group tasked with providing recommendations to the council regarding Amy Hartpath. The working group also includes Attorney Gerard Galvin, Planner Allison Ring, and 2 appointees from the Planning Board. And those appointees, I believe, are Ed Bowen and Richard Ross.
We also added Sal to that,
Great.
our planning board representative. So we, in our discussion, add 3 people to round it out.
So the proposed working group would be Councilors McHugh and Mushin, Attorney Gerard Galvin, Planner Allison Ring, and from the Planning Board, Ed Bowen, Richard Ross, and Sal Marinosi. Is there a motion to confirm that appointment?
Second.
Discussion on that.
I have a discussion. I need to address the solicitor. Since I have clients and friends who live on the path, should I vote on this, or would that be?
I mean, so it's kind of funny, because there is a direct violation in some cases, and there are perceived violations.
Sir, I think you need to be careful in that he's asked you
Oh,
a
I'm
question
sorry.
about a matter in which
You've already recused from it. I think you're fine, by the way.
I'll recluse.
Withdraw your
Recuse.
request.
Thanks.
Or maybe just abstain,
Twice.
would be better, because you can't recuse if you don't draw the stuff.
I mean, all they're
Abstain.
doing is agreeing that these people are going to be on the board.
I'm just
I mean,
nervous because.
I got people all over town that I do business
Yeah,
with.
and so do I. Yeah, you're fine.
Yeah.
May I recommend that were you to be so inclined, you could abstain?
Yeah, I'll abstain. I'll abstain from the vote. I don't want to.
It's much
Is there
easier
any
to
other-
abstain than
Is there any other
recuse.
comment? All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye, 4 ayes and an abstention. Thank you. As a related matter, you have in your packet a draft document from the planning board, from Allison Ring to the planning board regarding private roadways.
Chairman, can I go back to the last one for 1 second before you start this one?
Yes.
Do we have a date or dates? Do we have
Oh,
to get that moving?
yep. I have from the attorney availability on the afternoon of September 11th, the afternoon of September 15th, or during the last week of the month. What's the matter?
September 11th is a Sunday.
I'm sorry, I meant August. I'm sorry. On the afternoon of August 11th, excuse me. Yes, of course, I know that. That's when the fireworks are. I just finished saying that about an hour ago.
I would suggest that we book that, especially if the attorney is available. I know you've got 3 members, so I'm sure one can make it.
August 11th.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay, what time would you like to do that?
morning's good,
You said afternoon.
afternoon's good.
What time in the afternoon that starts with a 1?
One's good, one's good.
At 1 PM on August 11th will be the first convening then of this group. That would be my motion. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Discussion. All in favor? Aye.
I'll abstain again.
And abstaining. Thank you. 11th it is. Thanks. All right. Last in old business is an update on the status of the Mayflower Wind Project, the hiring of attorney Marissa Desatel and her intervention on behalf of the town.
I think we skipped the private roads. I interrupted you. My apologies. 4A. 4A.
No, it's just to receive the draft
Okay.
document. That's just related to the process that we're gonna be undergoing. I don't have any comment to make on that. The planning board has yet to speak to us regarding their interpretation. So it's for your information. Mayflower Wind Project. There's a meeting in the solicitor's office. Let me see if I can get the month correct this time. It's Monday, the 8th of August. That's the previously announced holiday. However, we will meet on Monday, the 8th of August, to discuss the details of her representation of us.
So this, this letter that's in front of you, excuse me, I was asked, the town administrator got into a contract with Marissa, what's her last name?
Desatel.
And somehow, after that was done, it landed on my lap to come up with some questions as to how we felt about it, I guess I felt about it.
Did she request that from you?
She requested it from the town administrator, and the town administrator requested me to come up with something, and there was only one day to do it. I got it in the afternoon, I had to have it by the next afternoon. So I put together, as you can read it later, whatever you want, some of my concerns for the Secana River. And when you look at, there's one place in here, it's been some consternation about electromagnetic currents. I was on the CRMC board when the 5 windmills were going to be put off at Block Island, and that came up by a lot of fishermen. Electric currents coming from these high voltage cables have a tendency to disperse any kind of sea life. You know, especially lobsters are very sensitive to any kind of electrical current, so that's why that was put in there. And the rest of them are just something that I came up with. You can agree with them and not agree with them. I was put under the gun to respond to Marissa, so that's what I did.
The administrator has a comment.
No, just briefly, yes, that's correct. Councilor Mararonis is correct. When she asked me, you know, what are some of the concerns, I said I certainly would not be privy to those as well as Councilor Mararonis, so I referred, or I requested that he would respond to those if he could.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions on that? The next item is new business. a vote to receive and authorize a tennis court crack repair proposal received from JG Coffee for work on the municipal tennis court.
Chairman, the Recreation has reached out to me. They'd like to table this until the next council meeting. They're looking at other options at this time.
For repair?
Yeah.
Is there a motion to?
I'll make the
table this
motion.
matter?
I'll make the motion to table.
Second.
Motion made and
Okay.
seconded to table the matter to the next meeting. All in-
I'd just like to make one comment if I could. After reading this where it says crack repairs, says clean out existing cracks with blowers, that certainly is not gonna work. They gotta back gouge those cracks and get the grass out of them and the dirt out of them and then to homes.
Yeah, you're right on target, Councilman.
Any other comment? All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. The next item of business is a notice from the Department of Environmental Management of proposed permit action under the Freshwater Wetlands Program, which regulates alterations to freshwater wetlands, buffers, and floodplain. This is what is called a general permit, and that general permit has been referred to our team that we identified, consisting of Don McNaughton, Peter Medeiros, Mike Steers, Allison Ring, for their review and providing of comment back to DEM. Is there any discussion or question about that? That's how we intend to.
I'd just like to see the response from that group to.
Would you like to have that given to us no later than the first meeting of September?
That would be good. If they're ready with it, in a timely fashion, when they're finished coming up with a response to this, I'd like to see the response.
I'll second that if that's a motion.
That is a motion.
The motion then is to refer the proposed response to the council. I would suggest that we ensure that it happens in time for us to put it on the first September meeting, so that if you have an issue with it, we can take action. And we'll do that. Is there any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Next is a recommendation from the administrator to support the fire chief in a fire apparatus replacement schedule, which includes ordering a replacement for the current frontline pumper engine 2. The details of that you'll see in the attached documentation.
They don't give these things away, huh, chief?
No, it can't work. That's why it's to our benefit to move now, the way the prices are going up constantly. Anticipated delivery dates anywhere from 365 to 500 days, like buses over a year. It's crazy. And supply chain issues with it. So it's to our benefit to act now. A lot of communities are doing it. Ladder trucks are well over 1.3 million. Our rescue we bought 2 years ago at $300,000, which is now sitting at like $390,000. The same truck.
First of all, it's a good thing we don't need a ladder truck.
Yeah, no, I'm just.
And second, how old is the pumper we have now?
It's 2006. This truck's gonna bring us a 50% increase in water. We currently carry 1,000, I'm gonna go to 1650.
Motion to authorize.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Thanks for the input. Next is communication and email received from Mike Dakotas informing the council of the Tiverton Softball All-Star Team, who won a state title, represented Rhode Island in the regional tournament. And the Tiverton team includes 3 young ladies from Little Compton: Chloe Oliveira, Elodie Cannon, and Kaylin Obashan. I would solicit from you the motion to provide each of these young ladies with a citation recognizing their accomplishment on behalf of the council.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
It's pretty impressive, these 3 ladies.
Yeah.
And they made, Elodie Cannon made the ESPN top 10 plays twice, one after another, 2 days in a row, which is amazing.
Yeah, well
So
said.
it's really impressive that these athletes from Little Compton are contributing over in Tiverton, and they made it all the way to Bristol. I mean, really, really impressive. And I've talked to all the parents, and they had the time of their lives over there in Bristol. So you should be really proud of these kids. It's a big deal. It's a real big deal.
Absolutely, absolutely. And in each case, it was, one case, third recognition as an all-star. Yeah.
All in favor?
All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Next, an email received from Walter Monroe expressing concern over the current method of exempting certain amounts of property from valuation for various categories, asking if it be possible to set a tax credit for exemptions as a more consistent method of providing exemptions.
I spoke, excuse me, I don't know, guess I'm losing my voice or it's too hot in here.
Get all choked up over
Yes, sir.
taxes, do you, Gary?
So, I did speak with Denise on this, so I would request from the council that I, work with Denise to come up with some kind of language or some kind of resolve to
Ordinance
this.
revision.
And, come back to the council with it.
Is that your motion?
The motion
That's the
then,
motion, yes.
I'll second it.
the motion's been made and seconded for Councilor Mataronis and the assessor to work together to bring us a proposed change. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. And then a letter with 2 memoranda attached received from South Fork Wind regarding the notification of proposed project modification. Lay
Well,
down
make-
areas.
Make a motion to place these on file. This deals with cables going into,
Historic area.
Long
yeah,
Island.
Long Island, East Hampton. So
Second.
it doesn't affect us.
The motion is made and seconded to place these letters on file. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
And then the consent file.
Motion to place consent file on calendar. Anybody want to speak on it?
Second.
Discussion on that. All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Finally, the payment of bills.
Motion to pay the bills as presented.
Second. Motion's made and seconded. Is there discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. There being no further matters before the council, I declare the meeting adjourned. Thank you all.